I just wanted to say as well, thank you, a big thank you to our sponsors. I don't know how many of you have come across them. We have several sponsors for this event. We have Manning's Tutors, we have Nudge Education, we have LearnCube, we have Tutor Extra UK, we have Tutor Cruncher, Twinkle, and of course eTeach. So those are our sponsors for this festival, and you can find out more about all of them in the Festival Hub, in the sponsors section of the Festival Hub. It is 11:01, and this session is the 11 a.m. session with Mark Huxley, the title of which is Values-Based Entrepreneurialism. Mark is an entrepreneur, a business coach, and an advisor with more than 40 years of experience in the insurance industry. But more importantly, Mark has been in the entrepreneurial world professionally since 2007. So today we are going to be discussing values-based entrepreneurialism. There will be 3 breakout sessions in this event, so watch out for those and make sure that you are able to share and contribute widely. Of course, after this session as well, you can find Mark at the Entrepreneurs Roundtable at 7:15 p.m. That it's not a paid event. Every single event today will be a free event. Mark will be at the roundtable alongside Ash Phillips, who's the founder of Different, and Simon Fordham, who is the chair of the Association of Business Mentors. Now, Mark, welcome. I'll hand over to you, please.
Lovely, thank you, Ludo. I guess I can share my screen?
Yeah, go straight ahead.
Perfect, thank you. There we go, and let's put that on. Slideshow, there we go. Hopefully everyone can see that. So, as it says, this is going to be about value-based entrepreneurialism. So getting kind of straight into it, we're going to run it 3 very quick little sprint bits from me on 3 key topics that I think kind of sit above everything else that kind of governs entrepreneurship and values-led entrepreneurship. Kind of understanding and defining what values-led really means, having a sense of direction for the business. Julia said you'd already been talking about North Stars, which is something that I talk a lot about. And I think probably the most important bit that we'll get to at the end is about being the right kind of leader and being able to take yourself on. So without further ado, what is being a values-led entrepreneur? So in my world, I just see it as having a central value and meaning for the existence. So you have a belief, you have something that says that we're here to do a transaction. You guys want to be the best tutors, but actually we want to do something which transcends what you're doing in there, and defining that by a big idea, really focusing this down so that you create something. And you're going to hear a little bit more in a little while about the kind of emotional connection part of it, and in the kind of business language, that's your proposition. But it's really kind of, you know, pulling on both the kind of heart and brain strings of the people that you want to try and work with and try and influence as you're going through. Clarifying and understanding and communicating and getting people to come on that journey with you, described as your why. And there's a link at the bottom on this slide, which I'm guessing Ludo and Julia and the guys will share the slides at the end of this. But Simon Sinek wrote a very leading book called Start With Why, and that very much defines that part of it. But it's your commitment, it's your personal commitment to what you want to do. And actually, if you get all of this right, this emotional connection creates an aspiration amongst others to want to work with you. So a couple more comments before we move to the little bit on the right. In my language, I talk about going on a kind of missionary and mercenary journey. Missionary is very much, I mean, you have a focus of why you set the business up. I mean, you need it to be sustainable. You need the common values, what you're doing. But it is this big idea that will make this change, and for you to really get to that heart of why do I want to set this up? What's got me out of bed? As Charlotte said, you know, why have I chosen to give up a job as a kind of mainstream educator teacher and actually run my own tutoring with all the local travails that go on with that of establishing yourself? And that again, I'm going to keep driving this emotional connection bit, because that's the one takeaway I want you to take from this slide, that if you can do that. And sorry, Charlotte, I'm not keep picking on you, but it was your one comment. If you're doing it in a kind of a local community, really important that you're seen to be somebody who's benefiting that community that's out there. On the other side of it, there's the mercenary side. Nothing wrong with that. That's an enterprise which is really built for its profitability, and the values are in there, but it's much more about the value that the business wants to put in. And I was kind of trying to think of a business that I think does both. Ludo did me a service by saying I started in 2007 as an entrepreneur. It was actually 1997. So a little way back from there. And business beyond all others that really drove me at that time to think about values led, bizarrely, was Ben and Jerry, the ice cream business. And you kind of think, well, what's ice cream got to do with this? It's all very transactional. It's all, you just go and buy your pots of ice cream. But actually, when you get inside that business and you see that it was purposely set up as a values-led organization, they got on the front foot of things that is existing in very much in today's vocabulary. They got into and really drove the fair trade supply chains. They would ethically source all of the materials that would go into their ice creams, and they would pay a little bit more for it, but not put that on the price, so that they were happy to write that off. And on the other side of it, they drove social mobility. So more so in the States than here. You probably might know they started in Vermont. They would actually set their ice cream franchises up in underserved communities nearby local prisons, poor communities, and actually would create employment for these people. And they saw that they wanted ice cream to stand for something much more than just go and eat nice tubs of flavoursome food. And that connection was palpable, and that's really what drove it to get the traction that it got very early on and become the size it was today. Some may say, sadly, it was then acquired by a major corporation, Lever Brothers, if I remember rightly. But actually, even now, when you look back at that business, I don't know, there's certain kind of, I've got a Ben and Jerry's, and it still stands for something which is a little bit deeper than it sits in, and that's that connection. And that's really where the diagram on the right-hand side sits. So, when I go about my business, when I do my advisory work, when I talk to the folks that I'm trying to coach and mentor, and I want them to think about their business as an entrepreneur. And this isn't just startups; it's a constant reminder in the business. This kind of brand hierarchy that sits in there. So many people kind of live down the bottom end of it. They don't really live at the top end. They think it's about price, it's about selection, it's about the logo, whatever it does. But actually, as you move up the thing, you see that it's much more about the philosophical part that the business wants to have in there. And it's really the green section and the bit that I circled up there. That's what sits above everything else. Its purpose, its cause, its belief. It's creating a customer connection. I'm going to say one more kind of example to get you kind of thinking about it. In lockdown, we've all gone now to coffee shops, very transactional. But do we go to a Costa? Do we go to a Starbucks? Do we go to a Cafe Nero for that experience? Or do we go to a little independent or a Joe's Cafe? You don't know why you're going to it. You're going to it because you've made a subconscious that somehow that business is connected with your values and your belief. And if you can think about that little transaction, if you can think about that little simple part of it, but actually put that across to your business as a tutor, if you can get people to think, you know what, I need to work with this person. I need to work with that tutor because they stand for my beliefs. And that's within that top part of it when they talk about the brand bundle. So that does get into actually being able to document, verbalize and vocalize the actual what you're standing for. So when you're setting your Facebook page up, what do you want to be known for? And it's not just the I do tutoring, it's why do I do tutoring? So I'm going to pause there, let you guys reflect on it. Hopefully we've got these breakout rooms that you'll get put into for 5-10 minutes just to have a reflection on it. When we come back, if you feel strongly about some of the things we've been talking about, we can have a quick couple of minutes chatting about it. Otherwise, when we're back, we'll move on and we'll start thinking about your North Star in your business. So back to you, Ludo.
Thanks, Mark. So just to clarify one more time for our attendees, what would you like the title of this discussion in the breakout rooms to be?
I think it's just to kind of reflect upon what do you think your big idea is. What's the emotional connection? What do you want to stand for in your local communities? If you're a freelance tutor, or if you're running an agency, what do you want your agency to be defined for? And just bring that thinking together of why have you chosen to do what you do.
Brilliant. I love how open that is. So there's going to be just over 5 minutes for you guys in these breakout rooms, and then we'll come back into the main room. So you'll be in groups of around about 3.
Again.
We've had an amusing break back in the main room. I hope all of you have had good discussions in your breakout rooms. Mark, pass back over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, as Ludo said, I hope you had a good little chat. I don't know. We've probably got time if there's one very, very burning thing that someone wants to share with the group, but if not, we'll move on and start thinking about North Stars. So, no, we're all good. Okay, we'll press on then. So I need to go back to sharing my screen. There we go, and put that on thing. So, as Julia was freely admitting during some of the breakout rooms, she's stolen my whole presentation and given it to you. So hopefully some of what's up on this screen makes sense, and definitely is as a kind of an entrepreneur advisor is something way too few business startups, entrepreneurs think about when they get there. Everyone sees the journey going forward from I'm at point A, I want to get to somewhere in the future. I've got an ambition of where I'd like it to be, but they don't really think too much beyond that. And that's a huge mistake in many regards, because every journey has to have a destination. If you don't have a destination, you don't know where you're taking that journey. You have a great time, but actually it's just a little kind of magical mystery tour. And certainly in any organization's life, business or otherwise, things come along, challenges come up that steer you off course. And if you don't know what your North Star is, you don't know what you're steering back to. So really important you do that, not to any huge outcome, but it's understanding, what the potential for the business is. What are those goals? If you set those values up, what do I want those values to be? If I'm going to be an agent for change, whether it's in a kind of micro community level or on a macro national level, what do I want my business to be defined for, and how are we going to get to that point? And if you can do a little bit of working forward, which is important stuff, and again, kind of language that Julia and I have used with each other. I talk about today, tomorrow, and someday. You've got to think about what you're doing today, but what you do today is going to influence what you get up tomorrow and do. So you've got to have a little bit of organizational thinking going forward. But actually, if you're not clear about what the someday is, you're never quite sure when you get past all these days, todays and tomorrows, where the someday has actually taken you. So try and get to that point. Just try and have that one thing that you want to get out there. And a few tips to help you think through this on the right hand side of the screen is if you can define the problem or opportunity. So if it's a way that is going to help you kind of think about how you're going to resonate with the people that are potentially going to be touching the business. Actually, if you're a business that is setting itself up perhaps as an agency and you see this as more on that mercenary scale, that actually you're doing this because you want to grow a business out and build an asset that you're going to put on, then you've got to start already thinking about, well, if I was going to dispose of the business, then what would an acquirer be looking for? Where's the value in the business? Where's the asset value that sits in it? So get into some basic questions, really kind of get down to what are you doing? What is the business doing? Why does it exist? What are the values and the value chain that you want to put, the proposition that you're putting out there? Particularly when there are many others in the same space. At the end of the day, you're all doing something slightly differently, but you're doing it to the same end of tutoring children, and there's a big commonality in there. So what makes you different, and what are the problems that you're gonna solve? And actually, maybe again a little back to the comment that was made beforehand about that kind of local Facebook page type stuff. Why should you succeed where others fall short? What is it that you're adding in there? And it's not to pick on them. That's horrible. That's cruel. The world's big enough for everybody, and the ocean is big enough for all us fish to swim in. But you've got to really know your why. Again, you've got to really kind of get out there, and you can do that by making a really good, concise list of your service features, the benefits, what makes it unique, what makes it compelling. And be clear whether you're actually solving a problem or taking advantage of a market opportunity that's come out. So something that's moved an agenda on for something quite already well ingrained. And again, I'm thinking about a big business that's done this. If you think about Uber, they realized back in 2010 there was an untapped market of people who wanted on-demand transportation, an alternative to the existing taxi cabs and private hires. So they built the app that we're all aware with, and it connected customers with taxi drivers, and it solved a problem. But actually, instead of taking advantage of what was already out there, it actually looked to hire its own fleet of drivers and develop an app that connected those drivers with its customers more directly and made it more experiential. So it actually created a new market that fundamentally disrupted the whole of taxi cab. You know, I'm a London guy. I'm very used to black cabs, but I don't have any truck in. Thinking about Uber can be my first go-to. So they've really created something that was different sitting out there. So zero in on your audience. There's some stats out there, a company called CB Insights, and in one of their reports, they talk about 42% of startups that for one reason or another, they failed because they didn't see that there was a market need for their products. They didn't do that research in the first place. And 14% admitted they ignored customer feedback. Now, customer feedback is really important. You know, we all start businesses thinking we're solving problems, but the problems that we see in our own head, if you don't engage with your audience very early on, those potential consumers of what you're doing, then you're missing that crucial mechanism for you understanding that you're going to start this North Star journey from the right place, let alone get to the right end, but actually that you've created a mechanism for continuous improvement. You know, you're there to serve. So serve your customer, ask your customer, how do they need to be served? And there's a whole raft of business science around what they call expectation outcomes. And we won't go into it today because it really is a big topic, but so many businesses take the vanity of, would you buy your service from us again? And that's great. But actually, did it expect, you know, did it meet the expectation that you wanted it to do? Because that way you find out what customers really find important. And again, as I said, planning your exit. And again, just to be clear, that there's no right or wrongs with this. It's just recognizing who you are, what you do. And if you're, as would be described, a solopreneur, you're sailing your own boat, you're a freelance tutor, you know, there's very little asset value that you're building, because when you decide to stop, you know, it's all about you, and the continuing activity is not really going to go on because, you know, I bought my tutoring service from Mark. Well, Mark's not there anymore. I'll go somewhere else. So your North Star is probably going to be about creating something which is a sustainable revenue platform for you that empowers you to make the change and deliver the values that you want, you know, to be defined by. Obviously, as I said before, if you're an agency, if you're building something which is, you know, the sum of many other parts than just you, then you want to have a mind's eye to building a good value. And again, for many other days, many other sessions, many other agendas, much of that is about revenue, about cash, about financial management, about investment, and all that side of it to get you to a place where the business is kind of optimized for somebody to take on. So the good advice is really think about it at the outset. No rights, no wrongs, but if you can just think back to that one point of, go back to my brand hierarchy, the purpose of what you're doing, everything else in that previous slides triangle will fall out from it. Big problem every business has when they start is you get this kind of pervasive uncertainty that goes around you. We get so many distractions, you get morale dips that come along, unexpected setbacks, you know, but it's the strength of that North Star that kind of gives you the sanity check of what you're doing is right. Are you still going down the journey you want? Can't please all of the people all the time if you've had a setback. So, but am I pleasing the people I want? But actually on the other side of it, you know, are you uniting the team of people you've got around you if there's more than you? And is the company on track? And is it going down the route that you want? And actually, is it something that kind of reminds you almost on a daily basis why you're getting out of bed to carry this on? So again, a little like last time, I'm going to pause now, let Ludo or the guys put you into some breakout rooms, and just, you know, again, that same open question: have you thought about what your North Star is? Have you really kind of defined what's important for you, and where do you see your own journey going on? And again, it's a lovely thing to share, you know. So I think, you know, just if nothing else, just to kind of have a quick round between the 3-4 of you in each room and just talk about that, I just think will be quite cathartic. I find it very cathartic when I talk about mine or my businesses. So I'm going to stop sharing, leave it there. Back to you, Ludo.
We're bang on track. I will open up those rooms right now. Any questions, let us know.
Want to hear it from me?
Yes.
It was who can I help next as my North Star.
Perfect.
Because at the moment I'm helping children, I'm thinking of moving on to parents because they're asking me so many questions and they're so curious and they just want to learn together. And I think there we go. And I can teach in the day, which is great.
Well, I think my immediate take on that would be that's the second North Star. Don't lose sight of the first one. So you've got that second opportunity sitting out there to do, but go almost more back to the first slide again. Go back to think about the values. Think about why do you feel that you can reflex what you're doing into working with the parents. What would be different? How would that be in there? Again, what's that value chain that you can create both separately for the parent, but then in a combined way, bringing the parent and the child back together? Is there a third thing that comes out of that? So that there's an immediate 30 seconds back on about, but I think that's a beautiful thing, and it's lovely that if you get inspired by what you're doing to want to do more that way. That's wonderful, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Was it as before? Was it anybody else got a kind of burning question or thought that they wanted to share with the group before we move on?
I'd love to know what Jeremy just said, because I was still in the break. We were still in the breakout room.
Jeremy?
Basically, it was just that a North Star for me was who can I help next? And for me, it's parents just constantly asking me questions and constantly wanting to learn and constantly want to get involved with school, and teachers don't have the time because they're working so hard with the children. And I think parents, I just see them out just in groups all the time, exercising and being together and being sociable. And I think that they'd be really keen on working together on how they could help their children in school or at home. So that was my North Star moment, but possibly second North Star, secondary.
Thank you. Really good.
We were kind of saying, Mark, in our breakout room that we kind of feel like tutors, their like real North Star is to try and like help all children in the world, rather than just thinking of our country that we're in, and like the curriculum that we're bound by. We kind of just want to, help the education system globally.
Yeah, Lucy, and again, that's where this today, tomorrow, and someday comes in. So, if you genuinely have an aspiration that you want to be a global agent for change for helping all children everywhere, absolutely laudable. Now you've actually got to bring that back. Is that deliverable? Is that something that? How am I going to do that? What do I need? What's my journey? How am I going to establish a business that's going to or an organisation that's going to be able to do that? So that's where kind of. I'm not going to find the right words, but a kind of a blind ambition against an achievable ambition, they somewhat differ and separate. So start with that ambition. Lovely if you can do it. If you think actually, do you know what, that's just too big a thing for me to do, then kind of bring it back. Well, okay, well look, if my immediate North Star is I do something that is going to work in the UK, but actually once I reach that part of it, I can actually set a secondary North Star. And a little of in the chat I was just having with Jeremy, that actually once I've done it in the UK, what stops me from replicating that elsewhere if I'm doing stuff online? So what does elsewhere now look like? And what's now reasonably achievable that I can do in the next stage, over what period of time as well, because that can become your friend and your enemy if it, as to what your aspiration with the business is. And can I get to that point? And eventually, is it something that should go around the world? And if it was, is it something I should be doing? Is it something we should federate into an organization? Could I franchise out what I'm doing? So, we create the kind of Lucy tutoring franchise that you empower other people to do it. So you become a pyramid within that, so it's the organized thinking that has to go with it rather than, and we've all got aspiration. I want to help as many people as I can to do as many things as they can do, but I know I can only deal with X number of people in my life. So I've got to be very focused on what I do. And for me, I do a fair bit of work now in the third sector, helping social mobility. And I want to help everybody have that same chance in life, but that you've actually got to boil that down to some bits. So, and again, Julia may have said it when she was chatting. I've You know, there's the old adage of how do you eat an elephant sandwich, you know, one bite at a time, you know, and that's the only way you can approach these things.
Yeah, and I think probably like when we have like the North Star idea, that like we all as like tutors will have like our North Star, like you're saying, in our businesses, but then maybe as a sector and like an industry, like our actual, all of us working together, like not one of us is going to be able to do that, but actually like all together we can really actually do a lot and make a lot of change.
Yeah, no, again, I agree with that. And a lot of, you know, brand worth comes also from reputational equity, from actually being seen as somebody that is standing for something in what you're doing. So again, in my kind of metaphorical vocabulary, you know, I love the thought that any startup sees themselves at one day maybe sitting on a kind of breakfast TV sofa being interviewed about why they're an agent for change and why they're doing it. And if you've got that passion to drive, lobby, and be a real agent for change, you've already created an emotional connection, because you've, in your own mind, you've created the wrongness that you want to put right, you know, and the change that you want to make. So hold on to that stuff, because that is really what drives change. So I'm just a little kind, but just one very quick anecdote. So that first business I started at back in the 90s in my insurance world was a management services business doing work with the insurance industry. And I very purposefully, as somebody born and bred in London, I could have easily set it up in the city, but I didn't. What I immediately saw is I wanted to be a slight agent for local change, and knew that up in Staffordshire, Stoke-on-Trent was quite a hub of insurance community that had got lost, because it had either ported south to Wolverhampton, north and west to Manchester, or north and east to Leeds. And there was a residual population there that had kind of lost their industry. So I thought, if I could put that back into there, I'd be doing something different, better, being an agent for change. Best thing I ever did. I mean, under my watch, I took it to about 150 people working for me. Now I'm really proud to say it's a leading business in Staffordshire that's got 1,000 people working in it. You know, it didn't need me anymore, but it's created and recreated a community. And that was my North Star. That was really what I got focused on very quickly. If you don't mind, I think we should press on, because the next slide was always going to be quite a busy slide. So let me get back and share. So screen share. There we go. And that's where we want to be. So again, let's put ourselves on full screen. This is really getting down to the personal stuff now, about you as an individual and the various compasses that will drive you going forward. And I think in any business, and I would urge your eye to the right to start with rather than the left. You know, I'm sure we've all got life experiences where we've been in somebody else's business, where we've been subjected to a boss, and we've recognized where we've been around a good leader. And I take no credit for this slide. You know, it's a well-worn path that sits out there that shows the differentiation that sits in there. And I just urge you just to look at that. Never see yourself on the left-hand side. Always see yourself on the right-hand side. And for those of you that in the room are starting organizations that are going to employ people, and if you get to the size and the scale that you want, that you might be leading it, but you've got others leading the teams on a day-to-day basis, that you never see those boss traits. You never see those boss traits in the people that are working in and around you. So it's really hard, because there is so much that defines a good leader, and so much of it is about personal attributes, and it's about being the best version of yourself, and having that selflessness rather than selfishness that sits out there. And it gets quite soul searching to actually do this. And again, go back to that first business I went in. I went in as a leader. I've never been a boss. It's just not anything native in me. But I came out a much changed person after the 7-8 years that I was there, where I'd grown the business, and I'd seen things in me that I didn't like, and I managed to get them out. And I was brave enough to look in the mirror and see those kind of hard lines that you needed to really move yourself if you were going to be the best version of yourself. And I would still say I'm a work in progress. When I do my mentoring work, I love being reverse mentored. I love to learn other people's experiences, because their experiences shape me and make me a better version of me. So So again, just to kind of run down quite quickly, and it will have to sadly quite quickly, some of the things on the left hand side is, having faith in your beliefs. Fundamentally, it's about your faith and your sincerity about who you are, and being able to not just see that, it's my way or the highway. Sorry, I have a dog in the room who's decided to play with a very loud toy, so apologies if you're getting a bit of knocking it on. But so much of that faith and that and the foundations of it lay on you really understanding those beliefs and being able to communicate them well, actually being able to listen to others, being able to take their beliefs into your beliefs, and you become the sum of something much larger and much broader, and setting examples by just putting that best foot forward all of the time and never actually giving up, and just seeing stuff through to an end, being passionate about what you're doing, just having that confidence in yourself and those that are following you, so that they feel motivated and inspired to do what they want. Making hard choices, that this is really the selfless rather than the selfish, that I learned, and it was one of my lessons very early on, that as a good leader, much of what I was doing there was not to enhance my place, my reputation, my career. It was actually more about the fact that I realized, by the time I got to the end of it, and I had 150 folks relying on me to do what I do, that actually it was them, their families, and everybody else that was around it that was as important to me, because if they were having problems elsewhere, I couldn't get the best out of them. They were getting demotivated. So again, comes back to that communication part of it again, that you just got to really feel that you are part of one very, very large extended family, and not be frightened to invest in that. In today's somewhat more enlightened world, kind of mental health and well-being does sit on the top of most business agendas, but it's actually doing it in a way where it's instinctive, subconscious, without thought. It's just because what we do. And again, if you get that right, being a good leader and driving your business on, what you do is you drive that best culture that you can have in that business to be as best spirited as you are. Earn respect. Respect is there to be earned, not to be given. So being empathic and caring about those around you again is all part of that, being that kind of good leader, and sitting in there and actually being trustworthy. More in my kind of trading vocabulary of some of the businesses I work with, that the insurance industry per se, wants to be defined by the fact that you can trust them. I think most people on this call would have a passive, neutral, potentially negative view of the insurance industry, but actually it does want to do the best for what it does. But what it's not really done, it's not really kind of put itself out there in a way where it can be seen as trustworthy. It's not earned that trust of other people, and there's a really distinct difference in inflection one between the other. And again, for other days, it's something I can speak long and hard about, and some really good case studies of where things have been done and badly. Just knowing the strengths and weaknesses of you and your team. That there's an old adage, a sporting adage, that a good team of average players will beat a team of superstars, because actually they work together as a single unit. So every person, if you can understand what they're strong at, obviously extol their strengths, but actually also recognize what their weaknesses are and help them work on their weaknesses to become stronger, and they become more balanced, and carry that around the team and see the balance of a team. Again, apologies for continuing sports analogies, but you can't have a team full of strikers. You need a goalkeeper, you need some defenders, you need some people that are sitting out there that are going to watch your back, and that's about the balance of a team. And as a leader, you really need to keep working about, have I got the right balance? Is everybody on the bus with me? If they're not on the bus, why are they not on the bus? Are they going to get back on the bus, get back to the hard choices? If they're not going to get back on the bus and they're becoming disruptive to the rest of the team, then perhaps that's the time where you're going to have to part company with each other, and get that team balance right. And that's not something which ever stops. The next one, people are key to the success, is just a little bit self-fulfilling. That your bit is about that just driving them and steering them and helping them get to that one place that you want them to be, and actually that they find that one place being rewarding place that they want to be, so they feel motivated every day to get out of bed and come on work with you. And just having a clear vision. So again, you know, that goes back to where we started, circling back, just having the courage, integrity, honesty, and humility, and a focus to help others really get what they want out of the business, and being able to articulate that between them. And just actually not having any kind of silly pride over the fact that, you know, you're running a business, so everyone's got to be somewhat kind of less superior than you. I think, you know, good businesses hire really clever people, and the cleverness is, and the smart choice they make is they hire people cleverer than they are, that can take the business in places. And what you become is that, you know, kind of the captain of the ship, steering what's going on with it. But everybody is knowing their place, and they can put them in. And that's what really, particularly if you're growing something as an agency and you want to grow it to some scale, you want the best people, not the best version of you and your own, what you think right looks like. Let them find out. And again, the other one is quite self-apparent. Never lead by force. The fact that if you're having to get to some of those traits on the left, that's either saying something wrong about you or something wrong about the people that are around you. So just keep pushing back to that right hand side, and see yourself as a kind of an inspirer, a motivator, somebody that develops others. But actually, as I said, you know, to myself, I mean, again, so I'm in my 60s now, and I still love the fact that I get personal and professional development from the people that I surround myself with, that just give me transparent feedback about me. You know, I always seek that out. I'd love to seek it out from this. You know, what really struck with you? Is there some things in it that you just didn't make sense to you? And that way I can keep learning. I can self-reflect, and I can act on that feedback and just constantly, you know, kind of improve myself. And it's a truism. The good leaders generally are over expecting perfectionists and rarely satisfied with their performance. And I think that's a good and a bad trait. You don't want to be too much of a self-critic, but on the other side of it, always that, you know, could I do better? Sits in there as well. So I think, yeah, there's a good run around there. There was a lot to take in there, and this just scratches the surface, you know, but this really does get down to very much your personality, what's driving you. So, and again, I think if we've got 5-10 minutes, Ludo, to send the guys back out into breakout rooms, just kind of have a little think about it. Do you recognize this definition? Do you think there are other things, particularly in your sphere of professional activities, that aren't here, that you think need to come out? And actually, what personal challenges have you faced? You know, have you seen the bad boss or the good leader? Are there things that you've learned along the way? And again, if we've got a couple of minutes at the end, just to share with the group. So once again, Ludo, I will stop sharing and I will pass myself back into your hands.
Yes, I've just popped down a little summary of what we want you guys to be discussing in the next kind of 5 minutes or so. Got about 7 minutes left until Johnny Manning's event at 12. So
Johnny can wait. He's fine.
Yeah, Johnny can wait. So this will be a 25-minute breakout room. You guys back in. All right, see you in just under 5 minutes.
So I'm being very rude about Johnny there.
It's like magic. The screen fills up.
Okay, I believe everyone is back in. I do apologise if that breakout room was cut short. You will appreciate that there's just a couple of minutes to go until our next event. But Mark wanted to share screen and finish up here. So
lovely. Thank you. Thank you. So there we go. So really, but one reflection and one thing to share. So the one thing to share, as we were chatting in there, I was reminded there, I have a little Bible that I work to, and I work with the organisations about their journey of entrepreneurship. And I don't know if it's going to come on camera because I can't see myself, but it's called The Disciplined Entrepreneurship. And it's written by a guy called Bill Owlett. Whilst it's an academic piece of work, it's really, really well written. And I do some work with London Business School, and it's their course book. So I think Helen was going to put it in the chat. And I urge, if any of you want some proper reading across the whole spectrum of entrepreneurship, I couldn't think of a better book. So, but anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. I found it, as always, really love doing this stuff. I'd offered a group coaching session to the guys, and I know they're running a little kind of, I don't know if I feel a little uncomfortable with having a competition to win some time with me, but I would happily speak to any of you if you wanted to reach out to me directly at the end of the session. But certainly, if that session gets underway, it will be lovely to see you back in the room again and do that. Also wanted to put a shout out to World Tutors Day. Julia is fast educating me about your world in the work that she and I are doing together. So kind of urge you to get involved in that. It seems a wonderful chance for students, parents and tutors to come together and recognise what each is bringing to the other. So I think that's a fabulous thing there. And just finally, this is me. I know they're going to share the deck at the end of it. So there's my details if you want to get in touch. And I'm back on later literally singing for my supper at 7:15. So if any of you are around, be lovely to see you at the Entrepreneurs Round Table. Should be a good fun session. Both Ash and Simon, Ash Phillips and Simon Fordham are good friends. So I think between the three of us, we can have a good lively conversation. So meantime, it's just a huge thank you to you. Thank you to Julia, Ludo and the rest of the QT team for letting me come in. And I just hope each of you has at least got one nugget out of today's session. So that's it. Just thank you.
Julia, before you speak, can I just say something? Mark, that was amazing. And having known Julia since I first did the QT course last August, I can see now where her inspirations and some of her ideas, but just and Helen's given me a thumbs up there as well, but just, Ludo, Julia, and, with Mark in the background, you are an amazing team of people. And, it's been really, really great. And like I said, I know that you've changed a lot for me. But Mark, that was really inspiring. And I've written down so many things that I just want to go and put out there. So thank you. And like I said, to all three of you, it's been really great.
Well, absolute pleasure, and thank you, Amanda. And as I said, open offer if you want to keep connected, feel free. It'd be my pleasure.
Lovely. Amanda, you have such a generous heart. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. But as you know, it's all about the team around here and what everybody brings to the table. And so on that note, I'm going to welcome Johnny. Mark, thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it.